A lot has changed since my formative years growing up in Fort Wayne. You know, when I was growing up, everybody couldn't wait to get out of here. You know, as soon as you were old enough, the plan was to leave, go to what we perceived as greener pastures. For me, that was Florida. That was funny when I was prepping for this, one of the agents on my team was like, man, when I was growing up, I couldn't wait to get out of here. And I think that was the sentiment of a lot of people. Well, now the tide has turned and people are actually moving back. Some people, you know, have started families. Other people are just looking for a different pace of life. And so they're kind of wondering, you know, what's going on in Fort Wayne? What has changed? What has stayed the same? Well, I want to make a video specifically for people who grew up here and were thinking about moving back. But even if you didn't grow up here and you're just thinking about moving here, I still think this is good information. But I really wanted to make a video for people who are thinking about moving back to their hometown. So before we kick it off, I just want to say, again, I have moved away. I have moved back. I know exactly what you're going through. So if you're thinking about moving to the area, I'd love to be your real estate agent of choice. I have 14 years of experience, and I'm blessed to say that last year I was actually a top 25 out of 1,500 agents in this area. And I don't say that to be boastful, just to let you know that I'm getting the job done for people, and I'm very fortunate for all the opportunities that I've had. So if you are thinking about it, I'd love to help. Okay, first we're gonna talk about one thing that has changed, and that is city pride. You know, when I was growing up here, the city did not have pride. We didn't have anything to really hang our hat on. We had good schools, and we were very affordable, but that was about it. And you know, maybe it was a little bit of you know, ignorance and not appreciating certain things or just youthful look at things. But you know, generally the consensus was that, you know, as soon as we were old enough, like I said, people were looking to make a move and go to Chicago or Florida or New York or, you know, something like that, something that, you know, we thought just seemed a lot cooler. And as a result of that, you know, for a good, I don't remember the exact stat, but I read a stat that said for roughly 40 to 50 years, Fort Wayne grew birth over death. So our population grew, but we were just, you know, more people were being born than were dying. Well, starting in 2018, we actually had our first net positive migration. More people moved here than moved away. And COVID just poured gas on that. And as the world has seemingly gotten a little crazier and more expensive, I think people are looking for, you know, less cool and more safe and affordable. And Fort Wayne is the perfect spot. So now with people moving in, and I think the internet has helped too, it's really opened up the opportunity for information to spread. Fort Wayne is cool. There's a lot of really good things going on. Our downtown has, you know, really grown. There's a lot more fun things to do at night. There's fun things to do for families, yet it still is affordable. But I think it's all wrapped in a city pride, and people are happy to be here and they're excited about being here. Okay, now I want to talk about one thing that has not changed, and that's the friendliness around here. Some people call it Hoosier hospitality. As a Boilermaker myself, I try to avoid that word, but in all seriousness, you know, just put very simply, people are nice here. And, you know, it's reflected in your day-to-day interactions. I actually was just talking to someone, asking someone for a favor recently, and, you know, they were quick to help me. It was a total stranger, and it was really cool. And I know that's one little anecdotal story, but I really noticed it when I was thinking about moving back. We bought an Airbnb here in 2017. That got me coming back regularly to try to set it up and get it ready for guests and all that. And every time I was here, it stood out to me how nice people were. And every time I would go back to Orlando, it stood out to me how not friendly people were down there. And I have great friends down there, and I had a good life down there, so I don't want to be too disparaging, but just very, very direct. People are very nice here. So one favor I always ask in my videos, if you are moving here, please come here with that open mind. Please come here with the idea of paying that forward. Try to reciprocate, be friendly. You know, it's okay if you're an introvert. You don't have to go talk to strangers like, you know, my father does. He's never met a stranger. But you can still be friendly and nice. And, you know, if you're minorly inconvenienced, let it roll off your shoulders. Okay, now I want to go back to things that have changed. The second topic, this is a big one, and that is downtown Fort Wayne. It really cannot be overstated how much it's changed. When I was growing up, the downtown was pretty rough. There wasn't a lot to do, maybe a couple bars and restaurants, but not a lot. It was primarily a place where people came to work and then they got out. You know, people didn't want to spend a lot of time downtown. I remember coming downtown my senior year of high school. We had to write a senior paper for our high school, like an essay or like a research paper. And I went to the downtown library, and there were some rough people in there. And then my buddy and I walked to Taco Bell, and it's a long story, but some pretty weird and sketchy things unfolded. And you know, my little naive self, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And so, you know, not to say that, you know, listen, any downtown, any urban area is gonna have things that happen, but the change has been massive. And starting with Parkview Field, you know, Parkview Field, that's the minor league baseball stadium, the home of the Tin Caps. That's the thing that really kicked all this off. At the time, it was a really controversial move. You know, we already had Memorial Stadium right next to the Coliseum. That's where the Wizards played. And so the general sentiment of the town was like, why are we spending money? Why are we spending taxpayer money on a stadium when we've already got a perfectly good stadium? That's extremely irresponsible, and fair enough to that sentiment, but pun intended, it has been a home run. Like, the baseball stadium downtown is awesome. It's fun to take kids. It's fun for date nights. You know, I've gone on date nights with my wife. It's a very clean, classy place. It's got a good view of the skyline downtown. And the city has really embraced it. And I think that's kind of what kicked things off. What's cool about Parkview Field also, it's open all the time. So you can go walk it during the day. You know, people that work downtown sometimes get their exercise and walk around the stadium. I've taken my kids just to run around. If you've watched my videos, you know I like free and frugal things to do with the children. Running around the stadium is one of them, but they also have a lot of events. They have concerts. They have, I think they had a farmer's market there. They also now do a Christmas light display, which is very cool, like a very bright display that, you know, I'm showing you some aerials right now, and it's just a cool thing to do. I've done it the last 2 years and the kids really enjoy it. So Parkview Field is one of the main things that has changed downtown. So another one just a few blocks north of there is called The Landing. So The Landing, if you grew up in Fort Wayne, you know, you went to Columbia Street as a Bishop Dwenger grad, Columbia C Street as we called it. C Street was our spot. We would always go there for beers, but it was super sketchy. You know, when you'd leave, it was like, get straight to your car and get out of there. You had C Street and Flashbacks. Those were the two. Flashbacks was the dance bar after you warmed up at C Street. And it was pretty sketchy. Like, my friend was a bartender at Columbia Street. He was taking out the trash and saw a drive-by shooting. He saw someone get murdered right in front of him, which is, you know, awful and it's terrible. And it's crazy because now The Landing is awesome. It's upscale, it's clean, it's well lit, and they've got some great restaurants. You know, they've got Nawa, that's like an Asian fusion. I love that spot. Tolan, I don't know how you describe that. Maybe a gastropub style. They got a small menu, but like steak and some fish and stuff. Great spot for date nights. I've had some good meals there with my wife and some friends. Cado, that's I don't know how you describe that. Maybe like upscale Mexican. You know, it's not like where they give you just a giant plate of food. It's very flavorful dishes, some good margaritas there. And I actually got in trouble. I did a margarita tasting video. I didn't like one of their margaritas, God forbid, and people lit me up online, but most people love their margaritas. And then you've got Dana's, which is where C Street used to be, and then Marquee. So you've got all these awesome restaurants right in a row. It's pretty weird. If you haven't been down there and you're thinking about moving back, definitely get down on The Landing. It'll blow your mind at how nice it was compared to what it used to be. Another thing that's changed downtown is Riverfront, the whole Riverfront development. Once again, that area used to be sketchy. And just for reference sake, this is like just north of The Landing, kind of Landing adjacent. I had a friend who lived on 2nd Street by that old Pepsi center there, the Pepsi plant that's been tore down. And we used to walk from there to go downtown to The Landing, and it always freaked me out because, you know, it's like not a place you wanted to be alone at night just in case. And now the Riverfront is changed a ton. So, you know, they built Riverfront at Promenade Apartment, Promenade Park, that was phase 1, which, you know, that kind of caught some flack. That was controversial. People are like, why did you put a park here? Like, what's the point of this? But that was phase 1 of 3. So phase 2 is now underway on the north side of the river. There's gonna be restaurants, breweries. They actually just announced the North River like sporting complex. There's gonna be a sporting complex to attract, you know, basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, all this stuff. It's gonna be right there. It's gonna be a big economic hub. And so once again, if you knew that area along the river, you know, a lot has changed. Let me just put it that way. It's becoming a destination point, and it's just getting started. So there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. So another thing that's changed is the housing options downtown. So West Central, you know, the section just west of downtown, that's become extremely trendy, extremely hip. Prices have gone through the roof there. There's also been a lot of apartments built. You know, just since 2018, I think there's another 5 or 6 apartment buildings that have been built. And I actually just did a video on this. All the, I think 11 apartment buildings downtown they're at 94% or above in occupancy, and 95 is considered fully occupied essentially, because there's always turnover. So a lot of them are at full occupancy and the rest are leasing up and getting there. So there's a lot of housing come downtown, and this is gonna be very important. So, you know, a lot of things will be able to be supported when there's a lot more people downtown. Once people get downtown, there's gonna be disposable income, and that's really important. And one thing I'd like to note is something that kind of surprised me is you always think like downtown apartments, you think young people, right? Young people like to go out. And what's actually happened is, like, I know the riverfront at Promenade, that beautiful apartment building, very high prices, that's actually been filled up with a lot of retirees, you know, kind of baby boomers, people who, they don't want to sit in a quiet nursing home or, you know, retirement center, something like that, around mostly older people. Like, they like the action. They like to be able to, you know, walk to dinner, stuff like that, go walk along the river for exercise. I actually have a client, she lived in the same house for like 40 years. Unfortunately, her husband passed, and you know, she never thought her house would be worth what it was, and so she ended up selling it, and she lives downtown and she loves life. I check in on her. She's a sweet woman, and it's just really cool to see. So it's not just a young people thing. It's people that like to be, you know, social and like to be in the mix. Another change downtown is Electric Works. That's actually where I'm at right now. This is on the GE campus. So a little history on Electric Works. This GE campus, General Electric campus, used to employ almost a third of the city, including my grandfather, which is pretty cool. And then I think around the 80s, it fell into disrepair. Basically, GE pulled their operations and the place fell apart. Broken windows. There's still buildings that haven't been developed yet. All the windows are busted out. You know, drug addicts, homeless people, rats, you know, it was a rough place, and it was a rough area all around it. And this was another controversial project. The city spent a lot of money on this to renovate. Instead of tear it down, they wanted to kind of preserve Fort Wayne's history, because, you know, as cities grow and develop, they need a brand. They need something that can define them, especially as technology. Cities are becoming more competitive with each other. The world's becoming more global. It's easier to move. And frankly, you got to compete for talent. And so they wanted to keep this uniquely Fort Wayne, and they have definitely done. I mean, you can see around, it's gorgeous in here. It's very beautiful. Do It Best has their corporate headquarters here. There's something called Amp Lab. I actually did a video on that. It's really cool. It's basically an alternative school for high school kids. You know, as we know that school, I think we can all agree, school doesn't exactly prepare you for the real world. And some kids kind of get left behind because they don't fit in the box of traditional schooling. Well, Amp Lab, they have all kinds of stuff. They have wood shop kind of thing where you can really work with your hands. They teach you how to make music, but like actually produce it using the equipment, etc. You know, how to do web developing. There's a lot of projects, and then they also have partnerships with local businesses, and they solve real world problems for these businesses. So getting these students hands-on attention and hands-on learning, and it's in a totally unique setting. I think the students can kind of come and go. They're not sitting down at a desk being counted every morning. And you know, it's obviously a new project and a new way of learning, but I'm super excited about it. Like, you know, school is okay to me, but I feel like there are some gaps, and this is an effort to fill them. So it's pretty cool, and it's right here on the campus. I will say this place has not gone without its share of criticism. Not only did the government spend a lot of money on it, it's in kind of a weird spot. So we are southwest of downtown. It's technically downtown, but it's like kind of downtown adjacent. And it's not the most convenient spot if you aren't specifically in the area. And it was really expensive. So a lot of vendors came in and left. And there's been a lot of turnover with some of the food vendors here. You know, and so it's been under heavy criticism as a failure. To me, I think we're still early in the game. You know, they just built the Alex, the new apartment from Electric Works. I'm looking at it right out the window, and I'll get you some shots of those. So there's a brand new apartment right there. I think as these apartments continue to build, more people continue to move to the area. I remember coming here a few years ago, and all these houses, there was a lot of rough houses right around here. I think I saw like a third of them, I'm guessing, but it felt like a third of them had contractors working on them. Like, people are investing money in this area. And yes, it's speculative. That's kind of the whole point, is they're trying to drive economic activity and then recoup that tax money and other revenue streams. So, you know, to me, yeah, it hasn't been the smash hit that we were hoping for, but I also think it's still very early in the game. Okay, now things that have not changed, and that's the traffic. And to be fair, maybe it's changed a hair, but generally, there is not a lot of traffic in Fort Wayne. A story I love telling, when I was coming back from a high school reunion, my brother picked me up from the airport and we were driving my parents' house and we were on I-69, the major highway through town, and I looked around, I said, where is everybody? And he had moved back a few years before and he looked at me and he said, this is just how it is here. And I'm like, holy crap, like I thought there was a wreck like blocking all the traffic and we had got on right after it. And there was very little. And generally it's still the same. And don't get me wrong, in rush hours, there are some areas that do get congested. There's parts of Northeast, there's parts of Southwest. It does get a little bit congested in the rush hour time. But compared to a big city, it's absolutely nothing. You know, when I lived in Orlando, I could see the downtown skyline from my backyard. It still took me almost 20, 25 minutes to get there. I could have almost walked there faster. And so there's none of that. And yes, the city has grown and there are more people. So of course there is going to be more traffic. There's always construction. You know, not only are we trying to keep up with this growth, but also, you know, we do have these harsh winters right now. We just got hit with a winter storm. I think it's single digits outside right now at this moment. And so that creates potholes and that tears up the roads. So we have to fix them. So yeah, there are times where traffic can get a little backed up, but in general, if you're coming from a bigger city, you're gonna love it. I will say, you do get spoiled fast. You know, but at first I was like, this is amazing. And then a couple years in, if at the slightest inconvenience, I'm like, what are we doing? You know, and getting all worked up because you get spoiled and you want to just be able to drive without stopping. So I would say, despite the slight changes, I would say traffic is one thing that has not changed. Okay, back to things that have changed. Number 3, the third and final topic I want to discuss on the subject, and that is restaurants. Growing up, there was not a lot of unique restaurants. You know, we were a very chain-heavy city, and of course we still have our chains, but now things have changed. We've got a lot of good options, and I think this is both a cultural shift, maybe even like just a demographic and age kind of thing, where younger people are maybe a little more open-minded. But, you know, I know people my parents' age, they're trying new restaurants. I think we're a more accepting city of new concepts, where when something new comes in, we want to check it out and see what it's all about. And we've got a lot of great concepts. We still have the old favorites, you know, we've got Cork and Cleaver, Paula's on Main, those, but we've also got some great new options. So a couple I want to discuss. One of my personal favorites, Banh Mi Pho Shop. If you know what pho is, it's like the noodle soup, Vietnamese noodle soup. Fantastic. There's a lot of good options. Some people like Kim Vu or Pho Indi. I like those too, but Banh Mi Pho Shop is amazing. That's one of my favorites, like I said. Down in the Landing, we already mentioned those, so Nawa, Marquee, Mercado, Tolan, all those great restaurants. But some other great ones, we've got one called Tequila. It's a newer Mexican spot. Amazing food, amazing margaritas. My kids love it, my wife loves it. I try to go there basically any chance I get. We've got Baker Street on the north side of town. They've got really good food, great steaks, great atmosphere. It's also a good date night spot, or if you want like an upscale business lunch, that kind of thing, it's great for that. We've also got Black Canyon out north, kind of the same thing. Although that place is like, I feel trauma when I go there. That was where I found out I was having twins, and that scared the crap out of me. So every time I'm there, I like have flashbacks, and it's ended up being great. I love them very much, but I was scared, I'm gonna admit. But anyway, so Black Canyon has wonderful food, also good drinks, good date night spot for cocktails. And there's other restaurants. I don't wanna have the list be too long, but I think the general takeaway is that we are more open to restaurants that are new concepts, and we're more supportive, and as a result, we got more options. Okay, the third and final thing that hasn't changed, I'm not sure how you're gonna feel about this topic, but I'm just being transparent with what I see and what I observe, and that is this city is openly religious. That was definitely something I took for granted growing up, something I didn't even really care about. And it's something that I've really grown to love and appreciate. And to be honest, it took some getting used to, you know. This might sound bad, but when I was in Florida, a lot of the people that I felt like that injected religion into the things that we were doing, be it business or whatever, I felt like most of them were kind of odd, if I'm just being honest. And I thought a lot of the times I didn't always find them to be the most trustworthy, the people that were talking about the most. Here, that's not the case. You know, it took a little getting used to, but people talk about it almost every day in my day-to-day interactions, and it has brought me closer to the church. I have my kids in Catholic school, and you know, for years I didn't go to church, and now I'm back to going to mass on Sundays. And, you know, I think my children being enrolled in a religious school, my peers around me and really embracing religion, they've all had a positive impact on me. But even if you are not religious, it's something that I think everyone can benefit from, because if we keep an eye on the ball for morality, I think that's a good thing. Now I know, you know, if you're gonna inject politics into it, that's a whole nother lane. I don't really wanna go there right now in this video, but my takeaway has been that this is a good city of moral people, and I've been very blessed and thankful to be around it. All right, well, that concludes the list. Things that have changed, things that haven't changed. One thing that has not changed, I love helping people move to Fort Wayne. You know, I'm now 14 years into my career, which is insane. You know, I remember starting out, I was just hoping to make it, and now, by the grace of God, I've been thriving, and I feel very, very thankful for that. So if you are thinking about moving to the area, whether you're moving back or whether you're moving here for the first time, I've done it, I've been through it. I can definitely help, and I would love to walk you through the process step by step. Even if it just starts with a phone call, it doesn't mean you have to buy a house the first time we talk. If you just want to pick my brain, get a feel for your options, get a feel for if this is even the right fit for you, I'd love to help you. Make sure you subscribe, and thank you for watching.